Okay, I'm doing this single-handedly, so bear with me. To pull the hood off, undo the 4 pins. I'll walk through the hood off like this. Pull it up, and then just set it down like that. You can see it's got the cutouts for the vents in here. The hood's pretty light. It's easy to do by yourself. So now that you've got the hood off, the engine's so much nicer to work on. It doesn't look that much different than stock at first glance, but this is an LS3 crate motor, 430 horse is what it's rated at. But we made 465 on the dyno. We tuned it down to 450 just to give it a little safety margin. So it originally had 430 horse from the factory. We easily make 450 with race gas, headers, and this intake that I made. You could put the cam in. You can get this motor from GM with 525 horsepower, which you could easily make 550 out of it. And that's just a cam swap and maybe valve springs, but that's actually really easy to do. And with the radiator and everything out of the way, here's where we throw the cam in. It's really pretty accessible. Here's a part in the leaves. The trees are dropping. So here's where the Ron Davis radiator, which is a monster expensive radiator, but it's the nicest one in the market. You can see it's tilted forward at about a 45-degree angle. So the air comes in through the front, through the radiator, and then up out the hood vents, which gives you a lot of front downforce. It lets the air escape the way it wants to escape. It still gives you enough airflow in the engine to keep things cool, like the alternator, power steering pump, all the things that need random air to cool. You can't just seal off an engine compartment because it wouldn't cool things very well. You can see the headers here. They're LG Racing 1 7/8 primaries, I believe. Very accessible. Nice thing is the car's really easy to work on. Everything's really available right there. I got the heat boots around the plug wires. I don't know if those are necessary, but why not? This is a oil catch can. I'm trying to remember the name of the company. They make nice stuff. You can see it's got a breather going into the intake on the valve cover, and then in and out of the manifold. And the trick on these Corvettes to keep them alive is to run a quart high on your engine oil on the racetrack. That's what the manual recommends, actually. But then you need to make sure you have a proper oil recirculating system like that. In addition, I have this little catch bottle that looks pretty homemade and hokey, but it's actually a very effective system. I discovered that on the dyno. I was watching it push air out, and so I created this bottle with a little breather on it, and it doesn't burn any oil. Doesn't in a 1 hour, 100-mile race, it never uses oil. So it works great. That's just trust me. This is the best way to do this car. There's all kinds of fancy systems. This works. It's proven. Here's the Penske two-way shock reservoirs. This is for the compression adjustment on this side. The nitrogen, you'll probably never adjust either, but that's where you'll do it if you want. This is a remote bleeder for the clutch. There's not really a way to bleed the clutch otherwise, so it's nice to have a remote bleeder. And there's the clutch fluid. I suck out the brake and clutch fluid. I do all the fluids every event, but including the clutch fluid, that's important to do. This is called the ECBM, which is basically the ABS brain, so to speak. And those are known for going bad. This was just rebuilt. There's a company called ABS Fixer that does it. It's only a few $100 to fix it, and once he fixes it, the problem's solved. Here's the power steering cooler, which I always thought about upgrading, but I never had a problem with the power steering, so never did it. I was going to put a little NACA duct under the car to direct air at it, but just ended up not being necessary. Here's the other remote reservoir for the shock. New battery. Hour meter says 14.6, but there's not that much on this motor. That's the last motor I had in it plus this motor. Another fire suppression piece. This throttle body is a stock size, but it's not the one that comes on the LS3. One has a gold plate, one has a silver plate, and I don't remember which is which, but it's the one that works better, that communicates with the ECU better. I have the other throttle body. You can have that also, but you'll never need it. Another fire suppression system. Like I said, very easy to get on the spark plugs. Some heat wrap around the brake lines. something. Let me see if I can show it. It's kind of hard to see, but down in here is that primary oil cooler. Kind of hard to see. It's got a fan on it, and the fan's on a thermostat, so it turns on and off as needed. And then I've got the primary, or the whatever oil cooler is this one right here. It's made by Improved Racing. It's kind of hard to see through the grills. It looks like a big water radiator, but it's actually a big oil cooler. And you can look that up, Improved Racing. They make great parts. In fact, I've got in the oil pan, they've got some trap doors you put in that help control the oil and keep it in place, and a crank scraper, a windage tray that just controls the oil. That's the secret on these. People think that you have to put a dry sump on it. I'm proof you don't have to. Just run the oil high, use the crank scraper, the windage tray, use the trap doors from Improved Racing. It's like a baffled oil pan effectively. The breather, and again, I'm trying to remember the name of the company that makes that, and then run this little catch can that I made just on the breather on the other side of the valve cover, and I've never had an oil issue at all. So that's the engine.